Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. And today's video is going to be a recap of my weekly fragrance rotation, rounding out the end of the month of November and the first 3 days of December. So a bit of a winter's welcome list here. This week was filled with a steep drop in temperature. We were really experiencing some lows that we haven't seen since last year. We were dipping down into the 20-degree Fahrenheit range and got a little bit of snowfall. So really excited to share this list with you. There's quite a few newcomers to the list, so if you've been with the channel for a while, these are going to be some fragrances that I have not mentioned before on the channel, starting off with Monday. So Monday, Ambre Sultan from Serge Lutens. This is obviously an amber fragrance, Ambre, and I'm not gonna lie, my initial impressions with this were a bit of a turnoff. There's an incredibly doughy opening, and that's a textural sensation that I don't really care for much in fragrance. However, the opening doesn't last very long, and it's actually grown on me despite the doughy texture. It's got a little bit of a camphorous feel in the opening, which to me comes off as like an almost eucalyptus smell with a resinous texture composition. But over time, this develops into something very complex, unique, and beautiful. I didn't look at the notes before putting this on the first time, and I was sniffing my wrist at one point, and I was like, is that oregano? Which, indeed, there is an oregano note in here, which makes this incredibly, like I said, complex and unique and a bit savory, which is another sort of taste in fragrance that I don't experience all that often. And so this was incredibly enjoyable as it dried down. I got a lot of joy picking out the different layers of this fragrance, and then obviously the cornerstone and heart of the composition is that amber, and it still kind of holds on to that doughy feel that amber does present itself with. But it was a great wear. I got a compliment on it. Somebody asked if they could catch a few sprays of it, because I usually carry bottles with me at work, so shared the love a little bit. And overall, this is definitely something I want to get some more wears with, and I'm looking forward to wearing it more throughout the cold season, although I wish I would have gotten it closer or earlier, because so far it's coming off to me as a bit more of a autumnal fragrance, as most amber fragrances do, than a winter fragrance. But I think the oregano adds a nice little bit of a green touch to it that harmonizes well with this last little bit of fall as we descend into December. We still have about 20 days before official winter hits, and I think this is going to be an all-star in that transitional period. So Monday I had Serge Lutens Ambre Sultan. Okay, for Tuesday was still pretty nice and sunny and bright. We had a little bit of a peak back up, as Monday started off rather cold and dreary, and then Tuesday the sun was peeking back out. We got about a 10-degree increase in temperature, and I thought it was a perfect time to bust out Creed's Royal Oud. It just mixed so well with the semi-cold brisk air, the way that the green notes in here give a bit of there's no pine or coniferous notes in here, but there's a nice foresty type angelica powdery sweetness in the mid, and then the cedar in here also does a little bit of a good job of being transportative to a forest that you would be walking in the winter time. It gives you a bit of that enchanted Christmas time feel. This one just did a great job of that. Was one of my favorite wearing experiences of the week, as this is in like my top 5 fragrances of all time. Had a very good experience Tuesday. It's one of the days where I work late, and this was a great companion throughout that day, even though it only lasts about 6 to 7 hours, and I didn't bring it with me to reapply just because this is one of the fragrances I would be a little bit scared to drop and break the bottle with. But yeah, one that has become a favorite on the channel, and I've spoken about it quite a bit. Best transition from top, mid to dry down in terms of variety of those 3 layers in my collection so far. So Creed's Royal Oud was a great time for Tuesday. And then also, if this is likely out of most people's budgets, I kind of feel like it is quite overpriced. Even though I think Venba Fragrance has this going for a pretty good deal, sub 300 right now. I paid $330 for this bottle. So I think like $280 is one of the best prices I've seen on Venba, but they do have a nice clone of this, Ministry of Oud's Oud Royal, which I've also been enjoying wearing around the house as of late, even though that one has even poorer performance, more like in the 3 to 4 hour range. I think it does a pretty good job of capturing the essential essence of the fragrance without such a beautiful top mid to dry down, and certainly not as great of a citrus composition. So definitely worth checking that one out. I think it's a great sort of designer quality fragrance in terms of capturing this niche scent. But Creed's Royal Oud, one of my favorite wearing experiences of last week for Tuesday. And Wednesday was my birthday, November 29th. I actually found out that I share it with another content creator, Santa Parf. Definitely check her channel out. She's one of, if not my favorite, female fragrance YouTuber on the scene right now. And so, as it was a special day for me and it was a little bit more cold, cool, brisk, dark, and rainy that day, I decided to go with my favorite fragrance of all time currently, and that is Dior Homme Parfum. And it's been a very long time since I've actually worn this as my fragrance of the day. Had to have been since last winter, but man, I am so glad that I did wear it. It's definitely not something that I really get complimented on. I think it is a little bit overwhelming for people, especially with the dark nuances in here with the oud and the amped up leather as opposed to the Dior Homme Intense. But I just was having the time of my life on Wednesday with this one. Just the wafts that were coming across over the whipping up of the air around me as I was out delivering on Wednesday evening. Wednesday is one of the days where I go in at night, so it was just a perfect complement to that dark, dreary evening environment while also keeping me cozy and feeling very special for my birthday. So that was Dior Homme Parfum for Wednesday. Okay, so Thursday was the 30th. We did get another uptick in temperature. It got sunny, bright, and enjoyable out again on Thursday, which was not quite December, but I was itching to really start getting into the holiday spirit, and so I had to bust out good old Burberry London. And I did bring this bottle with me into work. It was something that I reapply probably about every 3 hours. I think it performs a little bit better than that. I usually get about like 5 to 6 out of, in terms of being able to smell it on skin, but the projection really dries down on it after about an hour. So have no problem reapplying this though. You can find these at the rack store for like 40 bucks and online for even cheaper. Just a perfect fragrance for this time of the year. Definitely in my top 10 picks for December. And just, it's got a very nice sort of cinnamony, festive spice vibe going on with a bit of a port wine accord. So it's got this fresh, almost red sensation in terms of the colors that it evokes, but it's easy to wear and light and very cologne-esque in terms of being something that's very sweet and borderline gourmand without being dense, deep, rich. It's just such a fun, playful fragrance and a little bit of a novelty in terms of capturing the idea of Christmas in a bottle, but definitely one I think is a must-own, or at least a must-try in everyone's fragrance journey. So that's Burberry London for Thursday. Okay, and so Friday is my favorite day of the week, one that I usually like to go out of my way to wear a niche fragrance for, and this is another newcomer to the collection, and what a welcome this one had with me. Definitely acquired, I don't want to say an acquired taste, but you have to enjoy sweet gourmandy style fragrances, but this one tempers it out without having any bubblegum sweetness, with a type of rich, dark quality to it that mostly is coming in from tobacco as opposed to some of the other notes in here. So it doesn't get too cloying for me, as I'm not the biggest fan of sweet fragrances, but this one does a great balancing act. Still want to get some more experience with it before I really start popping it off into top 10 lists or recommending it outright, as it is rather expensive, and I'm trying to get a feel for whether or not I think I want to recommend somebody picking it up. I did get a good deal on it on a Black Friday discount though, so usually these go for around $260 for a 50 ml, but I was able to get it for $200. So not the greatest discount, but I do see these from time to time going for like 180 on Fragrance Buy, although they're a bit of a rare pop-up on their selection. But this is Vanille Havanne from Les Indemodables. And so even though it's basically vanilla tobacco, vanilla and then Havanne, like the tobacco, this is really more of a boozy chocolate cacao to me. This is definitely, chocolate is the dominant note that I get out of this. And then, but the tobacco sort of dries it out and makes it, like I said, a little bit more rich than sweet. And then the boozy quality I really get more so in the opening than the full-blown wearing experience. But again, I've only been able to wear this once so far, but it was, I think Friday was a day where we did get some snow. And so this was a great addition to that day's overall vibe for me. It just was cutting through the cold better than everything but Dior Homme Parfum in terms of the fragrances that I wore this week. And it just is very rich, complex, very high quality, and no compliments on this one though. But it does just remind me of a very somewhat like a rum chocolate cake in some sense. Very, very enjoyable in terms of the wearing experience, but I felt did get a little bit linear since the opening didn't stick around as long. So again, gonna be wearing this one a little bit more before I really recommend it, I think, just because it is got a high price tag. But it is an addictive smell, I want to say. My hand was at my wrist for the majority of the shift at work that day on Friday, so definitely worth sampling, I would say, because it is again, high quality, well constructed, and just a well done composition, which everything I've tried from this house so far has been. So that was Friday's pick, Vanille Havanne from Les Indemodables. Okay, Saturday, it was again getting down into the 30-degree mark, still really cold, but we didn't get any snow. It was drizzling a little bit. There was like, it looked like the snow was coming from the sky, but by the time it was reaching the eye level length, it was turning into a little bit of a misty sort of rain. And me and my wife actually had some time off together for once, and we took our daughter to a Christmas light event. It was sort of a family farm that set up a bunch of lights on like light tunnels and on the trees that they had. So it was a little bit of an event that we went to, I guess you could say. So I was outside spending a lot of time in the cold, and this is really just one of my favorite pickups of 2023 just because of the price point and the quality. And that is Classic Match. And I think, I don't even know who, I think Classic Match is the name of the brand, and this is their namesake fragrance, and they're basically a clone brand that you can buy at Walmart. And I got this off of Amazon for $7. And this is a clone of the original Polo green, and I picked this up off of a recommendation of one of our fellow frag heads. This is Donnie, and he said that he has been reaching for this just as he basically retired his Polo green Cosmere vintage version because this one comes so close to it. And he's not the only one that has shared that sentiment. There's at least 2 other people in the Fragrantica comments on Polo Green's Fragrantica page that have said the same thing, that this comes extremely close to the Cosmere vintage Polo green. And so this is just so good. I was having such a good time with this. It's such like a beast mode projecting fragrance. I was catching wafts of it. It lasts a super long time. I, spray it on and it's still very potent when I wake up on my skin in the morning. So you get that nice coniferous pine sort of green vibe, which was great for walking through the Christmas light event that I was at with the trees and everything. But there's just like a nice, very masculine, sweet, powdery tobacco going on underneath of all that fresh greenness. And it's just, I'm so glad that I own this, and it's going to be definitely be getting a lot of wear from me throughout the course of this winter. So definitely check this out if you're ever at Walmart and you find this one on the shelves, or even just pick it up off Amazon like I did. $7, and without a doubt, hands down, the #1 best price to value ratio fragrance in my collection. Undoubtedly, this is Classic Match from I think Belcam is the parent company or the name of the company that sells these fragrances. So I highly recommend this one for the winter time 2023. So that was my scent of the day for Saturday. And then finally for Sunday, my mother was working on Thanksgiving, and so we spent Thanksgiving at my wife's family's. And so we rescheduled a separate Thanksgiving for my family, with my family, for this upcoming, or for this previous Sunday. And so I reached for one of the fragrances that I shared in my top 10 Thanksgiving fragrance list. And this has been definitely growing on me. Every time I wear it, I fall more and more in love with it. It's just such an easy dumb reach, almost like office style fragrance. Not really going to be getting compliments, I don't think. Most of the time it's a bit inoffensive, but it wears well in the winter time and in the cold weather, which generally is like a hard middle ground to capture, something that's inoffensive but also plays well in the cold and has that density and that spiciness. But this is a classic masterpiece in my opinion from the house of Chanel. This is the original Egoiste, not the Platinum Egoiste, but regular Egoiste. And so what I get out of this is a very good duality, or a juxtaposition of cold and warm. So there's a very nice rose note that is kind of at the centerpiece of this fragrance, for me at least, that comes off very cold and floral and elegant. But then there's a very nice like a rosewood, some cinnamon, and some other sort of festive spices that add that warmth and cozy quality to it. Almost like this sort of textural feel is like what I get out of the wearing experiences. But when combined with that cold, clean cut, elegant rose, it just is such a beautiful wear. And really enjoyed wearing it at the Thanksgiving dinner with my parents on Sunday, and reapplied it when I got home later that evening and wore it to bed, and watched a movie with my wife as we were winding down the week, and definitely looking forward to wearing more of this one throughout the course of this upcoming winter season. So that was Chanel's Egoiste for Sunday. So those were the fragrances with which I was welcoming the winter season. Let me know what your fragrance rotation was in the comment section down below. Always love hearing what you've been wearing and getting ideas for the next step that I'll be taking in my own fragrance journey. And I oftentimes learn so much more from you guys than I feel like I am sharing with you on my end. So as always, I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.